Adrian Newey has sent a very clear message to the rest of the paddock, and it is one that every team should be paying attention to. The legendary designer, now working his magic at Aston Martin, has revealed what he believes could be the key battleground for the 2026 season. And it is not the active aerodynamics. It is not the new power units, it is the fuel. The sustainable carbon-neutral fuel that every team will be forced to use when the season begins. During the Barcelona pre-season test, something very interesting happened. The FIA gave all the teams an exemption. They were allowed to use last year's fuel instead of the new 2026 sustainable fuel. Why? Because many of the fuel suppliers were simply not ready. They were still struggling with the research and production of the new fuels. This meant that all those impressive lap times that we saw in Barcelona, all those hundreds of laps completed without issues, might not be telling us the full story. Because the teams were not running the fuel that they will actually have to use when the racing starts. Newey has been very quick to point this out. He knows that the fuel is going to be a massive factor in 2026, and he believes that Aston Martin has a secret weapon that could give them a big advantage over their rivals. That secret weapon is Aramco, their fuel supplier. Aramco is not just any fuel company. They are the Saudi Arabian oil giant, and they have been working with sustainable fuels for years. In fact, they have been the official fuel supplier for Formula 2, and in 2025, they provided the championship with 100% sustainable fuels. This means that while other suppliers are still figuring things out, Aramco already knows what works and what doesn't. And this is where Newey's warning comes in. He has made it clear that without a fuel supplier with Aramco's expertise, the development of the power unit would be restricted. And if the power unit is restricted, then the whole car is restricted. The fuel, the oil, and the engine all have to work together perfectly. If one part of that equation isn't quite right, then you lose performance. And in Formula 1, even a small loss of performance can be the difference between winning and losing. Think about what this means for the other teams. Mercedes looked dominant in Barcelona. Ferrari looked very strong and very reliable. Red Bull showed impressive pace. But were they running the 2026 fuel? Most likely not. They were probably using the old fuel, the fuel that they know and already understand. When they switched to the new sustainable fuel in Bahrain, everything could change. The engine might behave differently, the power delivery might be affected. The reliability that looked so good in Barcelona might suddenly be under question. This is the warning that Newey is sending. He is telling the other teams that they should not get too comfortable with their Barcelona results. The real test is coming. And when it comes, the teams that have done their homework on the sustainable fuels might have a big advantage. Aston Martin, with their Aramco partnership, might be one of those teams. They might have been running the 2026 fuel in Barcelona already. And even though they only completed about 65 laps, those laps might have been worth more than the hundreds of laps completed by their rivals. The new 2026 fuels are completely different from what Formula 1 has used before. They are created by combining carbon captured from the atmosphere with hydrogen generated from renewable sources. The result is a fuel that has a net zero carbon footprint. But the challenge is that this fuel behaves quite differently in the engine. It has a different energy density and a completely different combustion profile. Getting it to work perfectly with the new power units is incredibly difficult. And this is where experience matters. Aramco has that experience. Other suppliers are still learning. The Honda power unit is still a question mark for many people. Honda was the last manufacturer to commit to the 2026 regulations, and they started their development later than Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull. There have been concerns that they might be behind on performance. But Newey believes that the partnership with Aramco could help to offset any potential losses. If the fuel and oil are working perfectly with the engine, then you can extract more performance from the package. This is classic Adrian Newey thinking. He is always looking for advantages in areas that other people overlook. While everyone else is focused on the aerodynamics and the active rear wing, Newey is thinking about the fuel. He knows that the teams that get the fuel right will have a big advantage, and he is confident that Aston Martin is in a good position to do exactly that. The Bahrain test will be the moment of truth. It is there that all the teams will have to run the 2026 sustainable fuels for the first time. There will be no exceptions and no excuses. We will finally get to see which teams have done their homework and which teams are still struggling. And we will get to see if Newey's warning was justified. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll will be watching very closely. They know that the next few weeks are crucial for Aston Martin. Alonso, in particular, has been through regulation changes before. He knows how important it is to get the fundamentals right from the start, and he knows that the fuel is one of those fundamentals. The message from Adrian Newey is clear. Do not underestimate the importance of the sustainable fuels. Do not assume that your Barcelona results will carry over to Bahrain. The teams that have invested in their fuel partnerships, the teams that have done the hard work on the new fuels, they are the ones that will be in the best position when the season starts. Aston Martin believes that they are one of those teams, and with Adrian Newey leading the charge, the rest of the paddock should be worried. The next few weeks are going to be fascinating. We are going to see which teams listened to Newey's warning and which teams ignored it. We are going to see which teams have their fuel situation sorted and which teams are still scrambling. And we might just see Aston Martin emerge as one of the surprise packages of the 2026 season. The new power units for 2026 are a complete departure from what came before. The MGU-H is gone, and the MGU-K has been made 3 times more powerful. The result is a power unit that is split 50-50 between the internal combustion engine and the electrical systems. This new architecture, combined with the switch to sustainable fuels, has created a massive engineering challenge. Every team is trying to figure out how to make all these new components work together, and the fuel is a crucial part of that puzzle. The 2026 season is going to be a development race like no other. The new regulations have created so many unknowns. The active aerodynamics, the new power units, the heavier batteries, and the sustainable fuels. Every team is trying to figure out how all those pieces fit together. But Newey has identified the fuel as the key battleground, and he has made sure that Aston Martin is ready to fight. They have the legendary designer, they have the fuel advantage, and they have the determination to succeed. The rest of the paddock has been put on notice. Is this where Adrian Newey really gives them the edge? Or is it too early to call it? The Bahrain test will give us the answer.